Welcome to Buffs and Blindsides, the official Survivor Depression and Angst podcast. Back again for week 7 of Survivor 44. If you haven't already, you can go watch that right now on CBS or Paramount Plus. Maybe you're listening to us in 6 months when the show is out on DVD. We don't discriminate here, but as always, spoilers ahead. How's it going, Evan?
I've got a dumb question for you now, Tim. Do they still make DVDs of this show?
They do. They do.
I kind of thought that stopped after like 20 for some reason. I don't know why I thought that.
I saw a copy of 43 at the library recently, so they do make them.
Interesting. All right. Well, Tim, I'm going to get us started with a non-Survivor update for you. All right.
Okay.
I just want to let everyone know that I have been inspired by my personal Lord and Savior, Carson Garrett, to buy a 3D printer. And I am ready to 3D print every puzzle that's ever been seen on this show, memorize every one, and ruin the game so thoroughly that the production has no option but to go make new puzzles. I will not be taking questions at this time.
Is that really not Survivor related? I think that's pretty Survivor related.
I'm hoping that that's as off topic as we'll get this episode, and so I'm gonna set that as the bar for not being Survivor related. Our linguistics tangent last time really took us places.
But I really do want to see you build or print all the puzzles and stuff, Evan. I hope you do that. I hope that's what you're using.
My only goal is to create chaos and make other people's lives harder. It's kind of why I choose to exist. So
I mean, not just for training for Survivor, just for fun. I want to see you have those puzzles and just doing them for fun at home.
In other words, Tim wants to come over and also do all the puzzles. I hear you.
That is true.
We can
do them as they're doing them on TV.
Real time, yeah. Man, they finished so much faster than me. Oh, they actually edited it down 2 hours of footage. Oh, okay, that makes me feel better.
Yeah, the challenge actually took 3 hours.
But they fit it into 47 seconds really well.
Yeah. So, obviously, if you've been following this podcast, not really a great episode for Evan and I. We've been big Matt and Franny fans. Pour one out for the showmance. But hey, I mean, our winner picks, I said last week our winner picks would be gone. This week, double tribal, both of them gone. At
this point, I'm technically doing better on this winner pick than I was on my winner pick 2 winners, or the first one. So I guess I'll take that as a win, and really a reflection on how awful my first pick was. This episode, like you said, it was a tough one for us, but it was also a very enjoyable episode. I just feel very conflicted sitting here at the end of it.
I agree. I thought it was a really exciting episode. I really enjoyed watching it on the surface. But then you think a little bit more critically and you read some of the discussion around it and social media, and it's kind of rough. There are multiple points in the episode where people could have made different moves and really changed the outcome.
Absolutely. I feel like we have a lot of strategy to unpack for once. I mean, first off, this was just an incredibly strategy heavy episode. Maybe the most strategy I ever remember in a single episode of Survivor.
Yeah.
It was nothing but strategy, a challenge, and tribal council.
I honestly think it was... I know a lot of people will probably disagree with me, but I think it felt like one of the points where throwing more advantages and twists actually worked out in making the episode more interesting.
I'm going to give you 50-50 on that, because I liked one of them and I absolutely loathed another one.
Okay.
So I'm sure we'll unpack that as we get there. Should we start from the beginning though, Tim?
Yeah. So I guess the real beginning, we have Jam coming back from Tribal, kind of brushing it off, doing a really good job handling that. Obviously some votes placed on him last week. Makes up for that.
So extraordinarily likable. I'm someone who's going to go out of my way to hate people as much as possible, and I can't find it in me to hate him. And just everything he says is either funny or correct, where I can't argue with him about it. I don't know. He just seems like I think I would enjoy living with him on the island. I'll put it that way. Also, one of the best confessionalists we've had recently, and I don't think people are giving him enough love for how good of a confessionalist he is.
Yeah, I think he's underrated.
Whenever he's on
But
my screen talking directly to me, I'm enjoying it. I'm
mhm,
saying yes, Daddy.
for sure. Yeah, so that happens.
Even
I
before
don't.
that, when we didn't get any of the little notes of the theme song, I knew the vibes were off. I knew I wasn't going to like where today was going. And then after Jam
That
Man makes
set the
his point,
tone.
Matt comes in and says this was when I knew he was going home. I'm not joking.
Okay,
Matt
I
saying,
literally have this note here.
I
I
feel
have it
very
here.
confident. I'm like, he's done. It's over.
I have, quote, Matt feeling oddly comfortable. He literally said that, and then I said, he's going home.
Yeah.
He's
All right. So
going home.
we had that, both had that same note, pretty much word for word.
And then
Yeah.
after that, I was kind of like, oh, maybe he got saved by Brandon because now he knows that his like idol is not maybe legit. They're talking about that early on, and like, okay, here's what happened with the idols at Ratu, with the bird cages, and there's a real idol and there's a fake idol. And it's kind of interesting how they're talking about the description of the idol, like what it looks like,
Yeah.
because it's different on the different tribes. That was confirmed a few weeks ago. So that would have been interesting if they're like, oh, this one looks legit, but it's actually not. So we got that. Then Matt kind of like switches his targets to Danny because of that. He's like, okay, obviously Danny probably lied to me, fed me this fake idol.
And
Danny's.
We get into a bunch of scheming. Yeah, so Matt wants to go for Danny. Danny wants to lead a Lauren vote to get rid of the extra vote. What are your thoughts on people doing all this scheming before we even go to a challenge?
I mean, I saw that and I was kind of like, isn't this a bit early to be
it's
like
so early?
It felt like a kind of fake by the editing, like the edit. I
Probably
guess
fair.
It's kind of like like it's like, okay, here everyone's very confident about which way they're going to be voting. Here's the easy vote. And then you know that they're going to throw some twist in there and it's not going to be that easy to get that person out. We obviously see that with the challenge and how things play out later in the episode. And it's just kind of like, it felt like a little bit of a waste of time. Because like if you watched Survivor for long enough, it's good.
It was bullshit, yeah.
I guess maybe it's not so much a waste of time because it's good that you're getting a little bit of that conversation in there of like, okay, I can see clearly that this person is trying to get this person out, which is good.
Yeah, I always like understanding motivations. I always think that's nice.
Right. That is a nice added touch, but at the same time, it's like, okay, this is you gotta take it with a grain of salt. This isn't who's going home at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's an Evan Survivor 10 Commandment kind of deal. Like, you don't plan who you're voting out publicly. I mean, I'm sure you're thinking about it privately the whole time. You don't bring it up to anyone but maybe your number one before the challenge. It just never goes well for people. And this episode, it didn't backfire, so I don't want to say it went poorly for them. But I can think of so many Survivor examples where this scheming ends up getting you in trouble. And I just don't understand why people still do it. There's no benefit to scheming before tribal. I guess maybe in case like they separate you like we saw this week, but it still didn't matter, that happened. So
yeah, and that could be interesting too when it plays into the twist. Like, it would have been interesting if someone was like, oh, that discussion earlier in the episode before the challenge made me, I don't know, want to drop out of the challenge maybe earlier, throw the challenge, or if you're Carson, pick a certain side. Like, that would have been interesting if they brought that up, but we don't really see that. Another thing was, I guess Carolyn, maybe. Was it Carolyn? I don't know. They're talking about Tika and how Tika is kind of overlooked. And we talked about that a little bit earlier in the season. Like, they're getting a lot of screen time. It's kind of looking like this Tika 3 might make it pretty far in the show.
I always think that when you're down in numbers, but you're not like totally extinct, you're in good shape when you merge. Like no one cares about the
Right.
tribe that only has 3 people left. They care a lot more about the tribe with 6 versus the tribe with 5, you know? Or
Right.
5 versus 5, maybe I can't remember what it was, but
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's looking good for them, and it's like it feels like a little bit of a breadcrumb or something. Like one of the three is gonna win or make it to the final three, or
and
maybe
I
all three of
know
them are gonna make it to the final three.
I'm going to sound like a broken record here, but I've talked about that stupid White Dog Alliance, I think, twice before now. And tonight's result only further reinforces that the Franny, Jam Jam, Carolyn, Carson alliance is happening. Like, to me, I feel like that is just absolutely going to happen going forward.
Yeah, you're right. Talking about the Twitter thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, the white dog. It was Carson's actual dog that he posted a photo with, and then Carolyn, Jam Jam, and Franny all photoshopped Carson's dog into photos with them, and then all posted them. So there's absolutely no reason to believe it's anything significant, but you never know.
Survivor's legal team will be in touch with them if that
That
becomes
is so true.
the actuality. So then we get to the challenge. I don't know if you had anything to add there. I don't think
No,
there was really much. Okay.
I
So
think we
then they
covered.
get to the challenge. I was a bit like, at first I was like, wait, didn't they do this twist before? What is the difference here? I guess the difference is they all went to tribal before, right?
Basically, they
They've done the
just switched
split.
it. The previous seasons, it used to be, right, it was like the merged group, half of you would get like immunity and then not vote. It's only half go and half vote, right? That was the past 3 seasons. And then the next challenge was half of you have immunity, but then everyone votes, right? And they just flipped them this year. It was half of you get immunity
Okay.
and you all vote, and then they did it the opposite, and half of you get immunity, half of you vote. To quote what I wrote when I first heard this twist, what a stupid twist. This is so dumb. What a stupid fucking twist. Stop robbing people of their votes. This is like a Republican's version of democracy. Anyway.
Okay, getting a little political there, I see.
I'm not wrong.
But we talked about this maybe last week or a few weeks before. You hate the tribe split because it just takes away some of the agency in the game, and you can just get screwed by
You can just
bag
totally
of
get
rocks,
RNG'd out of the game because you got
which
unlucky. Which we saw this
saw.
week with a guy I like a lot. And now, granted, we're going to get into something later that I think could have helped that be avoided, but it totally swap screwed Matt. Right? This is the new version of swap screwed. Now that we don't swap tribes, apparently, this is getting swap screwed right here.
Yeah.
And I just hate it because it further decentivizes alliance making. If you know that you're going to get in these votes where you're just on the wrong side of it, like no one would ever want to make alliances anymore because you know if you go into these votes, it's like these 4 in alliance versus me. There's just no point. I don't know. I just think it's bad for the game. I just think it's really bad for the game.
Yeah.
Like I would get it if this were season like 5 and we were still having the problem of like, okay, how does a minority alliance come back? But I mean, Nalia and Pascal figured it out in season 4 how to do this, right? And why are we not trusting that super fans of the game can't figure out how to break an alliance? Why do we feel like we have to artificially insert that in? These alliances are not that strong. Like it's pretty easy to break them when everyone's playing this hard. So I just don't know what this twist is supposed to accomplish. It just feels like a twist for the sake of having a twist. It feels like a twist so Jeff gets to stand there and say, "You're not going to get your vote. You're not going to have a say in who goes home. You didn't see this one coming, did you, kids?" Like, I just don't get the point.
My favorite part was that like later after we see who's going to tribal, Matt and Brandon are having this conversation, and Matt's like, "Oh, I kind of hate how like I want the best player to win Survivor, and that doesn't seem like that's always the case." And then Brandon's kind of like, "Well, I feel like the best player in Survivor should be able to like get themselves out of any corner, and any scenario, and be able to find a way." But this scenario just didn't seem like that. Like,
thank you.
I
Yes.
guess you probably could some way flip some people, but like it was just tough. Like you just merged, you had like a day to meet these people.
Yep.
All right, let's just get back to the challenge.
No, I'm going to go on this point
Okay.
1 second longer, if that's okay.
Okay.
I think I am completely agree with Brandon, by the way. Like, it is your job to overcome the circumstance. I am the biggest believer in whoever wins the game, whoever gets voted the sole survivor, absolutely deserved to win. There's no one who has won this game who doesn't deserve to win, right? But when it's borderline production interference when they do stuff like this. There's just no point to this twist, this artificial randomly chop you in half and only 5 of you get a say. It really just diminishes the strategy of the game. I think the beautiful part of Survivor, and Jeff has loved making this voice line in recent years, is it's a society where the players get to decide what goes. And that is the fun part about it. That's why whoever wins each season always deserves to win, because they are playing by the rules their season made. And the more we introduce these twists that take that control out of the players' hands, the more we take votes out of people's hands forcibly, the more we decide who can and can't vote at tribal as production, the less we are letting them form their own society. And the more and more that voice line just becomes a empty tribute, which is most of what Jeff is doing these days. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I guess just a lot of thoughts there.
Yeah, sorry, I'm passionate.
Yeah,
I'm a Survivor purist, you know?
You're ranting, Evan. You're ranting. So we get to this challenge. Jeff's like, okay, I guess we talked through this part, what the twist was.
Yeah.
We got peanut butter and jelly on the line.
I would go hard for peanut butter and jelly.
All the fixins. No milk, though. No milk.
Dude, that was disappointing. Like, if I were promised a peanut butter and jelly reward and there was no milk waiting for me, I would still be thrilled, but I would be a little disappointed.
But, you know, my favorite part is when Jeff is, like, selling them on the food. He's like, salty potato chips. All the fixins.
I don't know what all the fixins would be for peanut butter and jelly.
No. I don't think he said that this episode.
Oh, okay.
But he does say that when there are all the fixins.
He does say that when there are all the fixins.
So then Carson draws, or doesn't draw a rock or whatever.
Draws the gray one.
Draws the odd colored rock. I'd go the same way. I'd pick orange too if I were him.
I also committed myself to orange. I completely agree.
But we kind of see later, it's... I guess not everyone was able to make it that far on the orange tribe, but I would have thought of those that the winner would probably come from them.
I'm going to bring up a question real fast first.
Okay.
Here. So Carolyn drops out in the first 3 seconds of the challenge, more or less. I'm sure there was more time that they didn't show us. But basically, Jeff says, we're starting, and Carolyn's out. Is Carolyn the worst challenge contestant of all time? Like, it sounded preposterous to me when I said it, but then I started thinking about it, and I'm not sure I can name a Survivor player who has lasted in the game as long as she has and been so utterly worthless in challenges.
It feels like recency bias.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure there are worse. But, I mean, I've watched all the early seasons in the past 2 years. And I can't think of anyone. Oh, you know who was awful? Was the Ghost Island guy. What was his name? Who couldn't do anything. There was that one guy. He wore like the striped shirt. He couldn't do shit. All right. He was worse than Carolyn. Okay, never mind. Carolyn's bad at challenges.
Sandra sat out a lot. I'm trying to think how her performance was in like the individual immunity.
I feel like Sandra could always pull off puzzles, right? She was the puzzle doer for her team. I don't think we've seen Carolyn do a puzzle yet.
I feel like you could definitely find someone worse. I'm not.
I agree. There are worse ones. There's recency bias here. My point is, girl's bad at challenges, but she's making it work. To her credit.
It's all a social game.
Fair enough. Hey, whatever you got to do to win, right? I mean, she's doing very well. But I just think it's almost comical how bad she is at challenges. And of course, the scene from next week shows her just stuck in that spinny tube that
like
Noelle
the
got stuck in
literal,
last year. And I'm just
yeah,
the amount of
her and
screaming we're gonna hear during next week's challenge. I'm already not looking forward to. Like she's gonna be whining from that thing the whole time. Anyway, back to this week's challenge.
is there really that much to talk about? I don't know.
There's only one thing that I can think of to talk about, and I had this in my notes right away. The second that Franny won individual immunity, she should have dropped. I mean, like, literally, I said, yes, Queen Franny, yes. Now you need to drop the ball to protect boyfriend and get Danny out. And
Yeah,
I know
so
you're in the heat of the moment. It's hard to think things like that through. You want to go win immunity. You want the peanut butter and jelly for your group. You want to be a hero. How have you not, like, she's a smart person. How did she not evaluate what the two groups were and what would happen if her group went versus if the other group went?
honestly, I can't blame her. I would say like you shouldn't really have to like throw the challenges strategically to save your team
It's
or
worked before and it will
save your
work again.
alliance.
It will work. It's worked before and it will work again.
I know that it might be a bad take, but that's just kind of how I feel. Like your goal should be to win the challenge, win immunity for your tribe. Like that's kind of like a out of left field thing. Like you can't.
I mean,
you don't really have much time to think about it either. You're just like on. Well, maybe you do.
You do. I mean, like they explain the rules of the challenge. You get to like, what is it? You get to run it once or hold the equipment and then ask questions about it. So like, I mean, there's definitely enough time. It's not truly like they show in the show where it's like we draw rocks and we're going. You know, they've got 10 minutes. And if you're in Survivor, I know you're fatigued and you're tired. You need to be thinking those things through, though, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And like, maybe I guess it does boil down to the question of, you know, like when I watch a sports team, right? I'm a Chicago Bears fan. This whole year, I was rooting for the Bears to tank. I'm like, there's nothing good about winning games this year. It just gives us worse draft picks. And we're seeing how fruitful it can be to strategically throw things. Like my NFL team this year is in the best spot they've been in 30 years because they threw the last half of the season. Franny should have thrown that challenge. There was nothing to gain outside of her eating a peanut butter and jelly that she got from winning that challenge the way she did. And pride, obviously a lot of pride. She has cooked her strategic game, though, right now.
Do you think, like, in some way, maybe she thought it was too big of a move?
Like, maybe. That's fair.
I think that's one way you could possibly think about it, is that,
that's very
like,
fair.
That's a huge move to be making. Like,
it is a risk.
That's, if someone caught on to that, or, like...
Who's going to do that, though? Like, who's going to be like, Franny, you dropped that ball after I'd already dropped it. You were clearly throwing the shot. I mean, you just gotta like wobble a little bit and then fall over, and no one's gonna call you out for that.
Yeah, that's
a your point. She does seem a little more hesitant, a little more reserved. So I think you're right. That definitely could have been a thought that went through her head. This is too big of a thing to do. I'm just gonna get the win.
Or just possibly overthinking in other ways. Like, I don't know what other options you could be thinking about, but I don't know.
Fair enough.
You're on the, like, it's easy to say all
It's easy to say from my couch, right? It's easy to say when
from
I'm
your couch.
Eating my Portillo's hot dog and not worrying about my starvation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I had for the challenge, though.
Yeah. So we go to the old Soka camp. Another thing.
Good twist.
Actually, I think before we go there, maybe, Matt brings up he doesn't have his bag. He doesn't have his idol, his fake idol, or his shot in the dark. I don't know if I want to blame production for this or blame Matt for this. I would say I'm leaning more on the Matt side, because it's like, if you've seen Survivor, you should know that, like, you should be ready for everything and have everything with you at all times. You don't know what's going to happen.
I agree.
So maybe he should have had his bag with him.
That one's on Matt. I'm with you.
But that was something that we saw in the episode that I want to bring up.
Yeah. Fair enough. I'll bring up my thing. we see the group. I think they're talking about their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We see that there's some note that says open for later, and then we jump to the group at Soka camp. And I love pulling out quotes that are just like so made up and so like pulled out of your ass that it's comical to me. And the one I have for this episode is Jam Jam going, "I've had people against me all game. When am I going to get to be in control? Bro, you were on a tribe that went to tribal council like 4 times pre-merge, and you did not get a single vote cast your way until last episode at the merge tribal. You have not had people against you all game, and you have been in control. Like this is like Jamie's. I'm the most important person in this game. I'm the only person here who matters. It's just like, where do people come up with this stuff, man?
I mean, not actual votes, but it does seem like his name was getting thrown around quite a lot. So I can see where that's coming from.
I think his name got thrown around last week a lot, but I mean, I don't even think it... I remember us talking earlier in the season about how Jam Jam's name was never getting thrown around and how it always got pushed to Carolyn. Carolyn was always going to be the fall person.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
So recency bias kicking in for Jam Jam, very much so.
And I guess the pre-merge tribal that never happened.
Okay,
that was the legitimate one.
Yeah, you're right. Josh was going though, but you're right.
Another quote when we go back to the merge tribe, the Vava camp, I thought was funny was Franny bringing up. She literally says, "I know some of us feel strongly about Matt staying." That made me laugh. I was just like, "Of course you feel strongly about him staying." Franny.
That's just a baby face palm right there. Just a little cringe.
But I mean, I guess that's also true. Like, it was obvious that most of that alliance was there on that side.
I do think people. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like Soka liked each other. Like, it seemed like a decently strong alliance. And I think this is actually a problem with a lot of people this season. I think it's just a lot of likable personalities. Like,
yeah,
I think this is probably one of the more all in all likable casts. Even the people you don't like from this one, other people like them, or like you're just neutral towards them. Like, I know there's like a lot of Brandon's boring, but no one dislikes Brandon, right? So just again, a well-rounded cast.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the only complaint is that maybe we just like the people I like less. It's just like I haven't seen as much of them. Yeah, it's not that I like really dislike them. It's just like, oh, we haven't got to learn much about them or see them play much, which is the only complaint there. But that was something that I thought about this episode too. It's like, this kind of sucks because it's like we're getting to the point where we're voting people home that like, I guess it's been this way the whole season, but it's like, we know these people. We know these people.
Until Kane goes home, and then we'll be like, who was that again?
Yeah, who was Kane? Or Lauren. Lauren didn't get much time either. Or maybe Jamie. Those are...
How dare you say that about the most important person in the game? You would be begging to talk to her if you were on that island, Tim.
You're right. That's like pretty much all we know about her is that she's just like overconfident about everything. In the edit we've been shown. But yeah, definitely it's like, aside from Carson maybe on your side, everyone's been pretty likable.
Even Carson, it's like, I think Carson's like a good person. Like, I don't genuinely dislike him or like hate him or anything. We just wouldn't be friends. But that's like equally a me thing, if not more a me thing than a him thing, you know? Like, that's nothing I have against him personally. And a lot of like my problems are just the way he plays Survivor. Like, if you're gonna 3D print all the puzzles and practice it, like, I don't know, shut up about it. Just seem cool as hell. Just seem like you're a genius. I guess he's more sincere than I am. But
Jeff like put him in an interrogation after the game and like had to force it out of him.
Facts.
And then they added that later.
Definitely.
So then we get this new advantage, which I thought was kind of cool. This kind of like racing to get to this bird cage to find this advantage. I thought that was kind of cool. It kind of reminded me of Amazing Race for some reason.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I see what you're saying there.
just everyone running to get it. I thought that was a high point of the episode. The advantage itself, how do you feel?
I'm gonna rewind really quick first.
Okay.
Let's talk about the way that you get this advantage, right? Which was you had to pull keys that were kind of hidden, air quotes, in the jungle. Um, how do you feel about an advantage like that, where it's pretty much dumb luck to get it? Because I guess
Yeah.
I really prefer the idle, where I guess you don't really get idle clues anymore, but you used to get idle clues. And it's like you got to hunt this thing down, but you like kind of know what you're looking for. I don't know if I really like one that's just pure random chance, like who
Yeah,
grabs the right key first.
I guess that's true. I think it made for a more exciting viewing experience.
True, they
Um,
edited it very well. Like they gave you a lot of up and down where you kept thinking, "Oh, does this person have it?" That was a very well edited sequence, in my opinion.
but I know what you're saying. Like you're thinking of like in the past couple seasons, we've had like this like word scramble, and then once they
Yeah,
have the
yeah, like
clue, they can go run for it and find the thing.
mhm.
Which I think is a little bit more skill based, and
Yeah. I guess I just like there to be some element of skill. It's like in the same way I like deterministic challenges. You should have a challenge where your winner got it because they deserved it, not because they did some really trivial menial task
Mhm.
a little quicker than everyone else or something. I don't know. I'm just a big fan of determinism and things like this. The other thing I didn't really understand is the note is like, there are keys hidden in the jungle. Go find them. Why the fuck did nobody grab their shoes? Why did they all go barefoot? I feel like it's worth the time hit to put on your shoes. I mean, what do I know? But I mean, that gotta hurt your feet.
That's not something I noticed, Evan. Why
What
you looking at their feet?
I'm gonna go clear my internet browser
um,
history. I'll be right back.
uh,
Anyway,
yeah, I
okay,
don't
so back
know.
to your original
I guess
question.
that is a good point, though. It
Anyway,
might
back to
be
your
worth
original
it.
question. How do I feel about the advantage? I don't mind this one. I thought this was kind of fun. I liked that we at least gave some semblance of control back to the tribe who won. Because as much as we talk about that it wasn't fair for someone like Matt who gets swap screwed, I don't really think it's fair for the group that doesn't get a say in who goes home either.
Hmm.
Like, why, if
Yeah.
you win a challenge, why should you be robbed of your vote? In fact, like, if I'm someone like Heidi or like in that situation, I'd rather give up my safety and still be allowed to vote.
That's a good point, especially at the merge
And
too.
that's how you make this twist better. You say you are safe, but if you want, you can give up your safety and go join the losing group. That would make
Huh.
this twist actually insanely good, IMO.
Hmm.
Jeff
That's a good
Probst,
point.
hire my ass. I'm ready to
That's a good
relocate to
point.
Fiji.
But as you're saying, like this is the merge. Like at this point, you're kind of already starting to look at the end game, who you want to pack the jury with. And you're absolutely right. It's also kind of a disadvantage to be on the winning tribe. You don't get to choose who's going home. Like it's
Yeah,
something
to
that
be
you don't
honest,
think about.
outside of eating the peanut butter and jelly, which is a great perk for the reward winners, Brandon was the best position this episode. You wanted to be the winner on the losing half, was by far the best spot to be in.
Right. Right. You have agency there.
Yep.
And it's just
Great
again,
word.
just let
I
them
love
play
that word.
just let them play the game.
Just let them play the game. Stop dictating who gets power when. You get power by having the social credit to run a vote, not because Jeff said only half of you get to vote, therefore making you all matter. That's just fake. It's production interference.
Okay. One thing I thought about with the advantage later in the episode was just like, can you imagine making someone vote for themselves?
I was wondering if you could do that.
Just like absolutely cutthroat. Make someone vote for themselves.
I don't think you can do it, right? Because in Survivor, you're technically not allowed to vote for yourself. So I don't think this would
Is
let
there
you do
any
that.
rule? Is
Yes.
there any rule? Oh,
It is
okay.
a definitive rule you cannot vote for yourself. That came up in, was it Pearl Islands? It's one of the early seasons. They make a whole point of it that you can't vote for yourself. And it somehow mattered. I don't remember how it mattered, but it did.
Seems kind of made up. In Borneo, they voted for Jeff.
And he was so angry that he made them redo it. And now we have Jeff making gargoyle faces at Tribal Council.
Did
What
they
happened?
remake it?
Yeah, he
I
was
thought
like,
that
he
was
barely
actually
yelled
part
at them
of
for
the
like
thing.
10 minutes and then made them go revote.
I thought that was actually left in for some reason.
No, it was not. They cut it out and
Okay.
because apparently Jeff was like a real bitch about it. This is when he was
Okay.
still insecure about his leadership on the show, so he felt like he needed to assert himself.
Okay.
And now he's too comfortable. I need Jeff to be more scared.
Let's see, what else do we get before Tribal? We get a little Matt and Franny montage.
Another thing I'm going to quote directly from my notes, and it's in all caps, so I have to bring the mic really close to my face. No, Matt and Franny black and white montage. No. Yeah, that's when you really knew it was over.
Yeah, right. It's just like the first quote was like, okay, here's one thing. One reason why you think Matt's going home. Like, pretty clear that he was going home. And then you see that montage, and then later his speech at Tribal. It's just like,
oh, don't do it to me, Tim. Don't make me relive the sadness.
Do we want to go to Tribal? Is there anything really more?
I think I'm good to go to Tribal, so we can talk about the papaya of peace.
I think the pre-Tribal edit kind of gave me some semblance of hope that it wouldn't be Matt and somehow he would flip someone.
We do have one more thing we need to talk about actually before Tribal.
Okay.
We didn't talk about actually like the different ways Heidi could have used her control the vote advantage. So obviously the one plan was you take someone's vote and then put it on Matt or Jam Jam. She ultimately did do that by taking Lauren's, putting it on Jam Jam.
Mm-hmm.
What would you have done if you were her there, I guess? Like, this is one of those Survivor questions I don't think we'll ever have an answer of what the right play was. Clearly, Heidi's was not the right play, though.
Yeah. I'm honestly, like I probably said before, I'm not really thinking that analytically when I'm, like, watching the show.
See, I'm always what would I do in this situation?
Yeah. I'm not really thinking that deeply about it. I'm just enjoying the show. Let me think about it. Do you have an answer? What would you have done?
To be honest, I think if you're Heidi, like, you're just in a bad spot because you truly are guessing who those three want to throw votes on. And it really doesn't matter. Like, you can't trump them, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only way that you are able to trump them, like, I feel like Heidi didn't run through the scenarios of what happens when she flips that vote. I think Franny definitely baited her with her whole Brandon will not vote for Matt, right? Which was a stupid comment, definitely overconfident. The only way that it works out even kind of well for Heidi is you actually take Lauren's vote and put it on Jamie.
Okay.
Or you take Brandon's and put it on Jamie. But the key is you take a vote and put it on Jamie. Again, I would take Lauren's, put it on Jamie. And then what that does is it kind of, probably gets Matt and Jam Jam talking about, like, why is she doing that? I mean, should we just both vote for Jamie now? And then you actually do trump them, right? If that's what happens, you take the one vote, you throw it on Jamie, you hope Lauren doesn't use her extra, and if Matt and Jam Jam both do it, it doesn't matter what Brandon and Lauren do. Like, the only way they get out of the situation is if Lauren uses her extra vote, then they tie it, and then from there, I don't know if Heidi gets to control Jamie's vote again or not. If she does, then obviously you're fine and you just vote your person out. If not, you still lose. But that's the only way you have any semblance of control, was to take an orange vote and flip it to orange. Her choosing between Matt and Jam Jam was never going to matter. The other three were always going to be able to trump that because you knew Matt and Jam Jam were putting their votes on each other.
Okay. I think that makes sense. Like using it more as an influence to, like, influence people to vote a certain way. By declaring that, okay, I'm gonna vote for Jamie.
I also think that's the least fallout. I mean, they didn't tease it, but there's gonna be fallout next episode. Carolyn's gonna be pissed, and Jam Jam's gonna be pissed, and, like, everyone's gonna be like, Soka's too close. We gotta break up Soka, right? So I think there's gonna be a really big fallout from her playing this advantage this way, and this is really gonna end up costing her. I think. Like, I feel very not good about my winner pick in her after this episode. From the standpoint of, I think there's gonna be a lot of blowback from what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had some confusion earlier in the episode about, like, how exactly that they play that advantage. I thought for some reason that you would tell that person in private who they're supposed to vote for, not just like declare it at tribal.
Yeah, that would have been more interesting. I feel like no matter what, I would have just shouted it out. Like, we're at the point of the game now where as long as you are making good television, they don't give a shit what you do. Like, Mike literally breaking the rules, like the very clearly written rules of you must say this at every tribal, and then production just being like, yeah, that's fine. He doesn't have to because he's not doing it. We're not going to tell him. Like, we've entered the point where you can just do whatever you want and get away with it now.
Yeah. Yep. What else do we want to talk about? Matt kind of just having fun with tribal. It seems like bringing a papaya.
We need more tribal councilists like Matt, who's just cute and willing to talk about anything and not making. I mean, he did make some stupid analogies, but like they weren't as egregious as some of the recent ones.
I mean, you could maybe say that last week's analogy was like the most egregious, but
yeah. But he's so cute and he's always smiling when he says it, so I get distracted.
Yeah. I don't know what else there is to say. He had that speech there, and it was just kind of like, it felt like a concession speech. I'm going home.
Yeah, it did.
There's nothing I can do about this.
I really liked after the Jam was like, you could literally tell he's like, shit, I gotta find a way to cry. Like you could see it. Like he's putting his head in his hands, like you know he is just trying to get himself to cry.
Right. I think that was just a tough speech to follow there. He was just kind of like, I don't know what to say here.
Yeah, for sure.
And then like after
one other thing too about tribal is, you know, we talked about Matt's bag earlier, him not having it. Ultimately, the idol wouldn't have mattered. It was a fake idol. Brandon knew it was a fake idol. What
could have played Shot in the Dark?
I was just about to ask. When you see Heidi come out and say, Lauren, you're voting for Jam, do you play Shot in the Dark there if you're Matt? And another question we have a Shot in the Dark, right? So if Matt plays Shot in the Dark there, well, it would have just been 3-1, so it wouldn't have theoretically mattered. But if Matt plays Shot in the Dark and it ends up being 2-2, does Matt get to go vote in the revote or not? I guess it wouldn't matter because he would have been one of the people voted for, so he wouldn't have voted anyway. Okay, never mind. Ignore that point. But yeah, it would have been interesting to see how the Shot in the Dark could have affected this.
Yeah.
This would have actually been a 6 Shot in the Dark successful play, but I'm so glad we were able to waste it earlier this year on Jamie. That was so fun.
Yep. Was there anything else? Is there anything else that we really need to mention? They zoomed in on the papaya.
That was cute. I was hoping he was going to play it like an idol and that Jeff was going to take it, but
throw it in the fire. There's a little bit of a.
As much as I want to claim that production, you go ahead. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, I didn't even catch what he said at the end. He said something to Franny.
He said, Franny, I'm so proud of you for winning that challenge.
Oh, okay.
You know what? This was actually a mega brains play from Fanny to get a guaranteed jury vote for her on the jury. That's how I'm going to reshape this. I'm pretty confident if Franny's in the final 3, Matt will vote for her.
I never liked you, Matt.
It was all a ruse. She was playing him the whole time. She's actually married,
it was all for the votes.
Yeah. She's gonna start cuddling up to Jam next. Get ready for it.
Oh my god. I think it will make for an interesting exit interview. I'm really excited to listen to that tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm excited for that, and I'm more excited for the second that we hear who wins this season, because then I'm not going to care, and I will immediately just look up and see if Matt and Franny are together. Because we can't know until the embargo's done, right? Or until they're both voted out, I guess. So the second Franny is voted out or the votes are read at Final Tribal, that is all I care about. Are they together still?
It's all we need to know.
I was really hoping we were going to get Rob and Amber, though. I was really hoping we were going to get them in the final 2 together. I'm a little bummed.
I think it was unlikely.
It was always unlikely, but sometimes the stars align, Tim.
It feels like just such an looking back a little bit, such an unfortunate arc for Matt. Just like his edit.
Dude had no agency in the game at any point. He was never allowed to vote. In the first tribal he could vote at, he was screwed onto a mini tribe with no one from his alliance or from his original tribe.
I guess the one thing you could possibly say is that he didn't have to lose a second vote. He went for that again. But
yeah, I mean that's if you really want to get ticky tacky about it, sure.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I
I would
want to be more
agree.
mad at production for swap screwing him, but I do think it ends up being a pretty huge misplay from Franny not to drop the ball on that challenge. Like again, I get how it happens. I'm not saying she like colossally screwed up or like anything like that. I just think you look back, Survivor's a game of moments, and that would have been a very smart play to make, and it was very available to her. So I can't be too mad about how it happened because I think this was pretty avoidable.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see how everything plays out next week.
For sure.
But again, just really unfortunate for Matt. It seemed like he didn't have a whole lot of choices to make this whole season.
Yeah. Will he come back is the question. He feels
Will
like
he
the
come
first
back?
person that's on the fence of like, would he be invited back? I don't think he would.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Unless
Maybe if they do
both
like
of
a dynamic duos, like a take on Blood versus Water, and
Blood
like
versus
him on
Water.
one tribe, Franny on another, then maybe. But other than that, I don't think so. He was cute though. He was a cutie.
That would be an interesting season, I think. Like
Yeah.
dynamic duos instead of Blood
Former
versus
duos
Water.
broken in
So it's
half.
just
Yeah,
like,
I would actually be
yeah.
kind of sick. Again, Jeff, we are available for hire if you want us, buddy. We are ready. Yeah, I do want to highlight one other thing about this episode too, which we've already kind of complimented that we liked how it was strategy. It was a very quick episode. Like I was amazed an hour had already gone by when I watched it. I really liked the balanced edit. Like again, I know that I harp on the balanced edit a lot, but like my dream edit is every player having the same number of confessionals each episode. Like I know it can't actually happen like that, but that would be like ideal. I just feel like I understood pretty much every person's voting, like why they voted the way they did, why they were making decisions the way they made them, and where they stand in the future. Like I just thought this was a very good, like I have perspective on what everyone kind of wants to do from this point onwards, which is really nice to get at your merge episode. So again, as much as I want to riff on production, I think editing has just been phenomenal in this new era for the most part.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that is pretty good. And like we were talking about a bit earlier with that the pre-challenge stuff about where people are kind of lying, where they're going to vote. That kind of stuff could play in later. We didn't really see any of it this episode.
Just your point, Danny versus Lauren could be a huge plot point next episode.
Yeah. So maybe they're just like, okay, we have time in this episode. Let's throw that in here.
Yeah, just set it up. Lay the foundations.
So that might be interesting. I don't know if we want to talk about this at all or next week. The rumors that Survivor might be going to an hour-and-a-half format. We talked about that maybe a few weeks ago with my idea for a 2-hour Survivor, like exclusive Paramount Plus thing. It sounds like they might actually be going through with an hour-and-a-half format. What do you think about that?
I'm conflicted. Theoretically, I love it. I think it's good. I think
the
show has earned it. I mean, you're on for 44 seasons. You probably deserve an increase in runtime at some point. I think it's good for dedicated fans of the show like us. I think it's bad for casual fans. I don't know if I'm mad that we're making it worse for casual fans, though. Just commit. Just watch every week. I just don't want them to be like, okay, we gave you this thing you really wanted, right? People like most Survivor fans really want 90-minute episodes. So I don't want that to be an excuse for them to go make a bunch of other shitty, bad decisions and be like, we have so much extra time. Right. You know what that means? We're going to fill those extra 30 minutes each
more
episode
advantages
with random advantages that are bullshit. Like, that's going to make the show worse. So it just scares me when we're in this advantage saturated period, right? We had the idle saturated period in the 30s. Now we're having the advantage saturated period. If we switch to 90-minute episodes, I feel like that just means this crazy number of advantages is, if nothing else, here to stay, but probably going to get worse.
Yeah, I think that's very true. And like, I think there is definitely room for concern there because it's like, okay, we've made the game shorter, right? We've gotten rid of a lot of aspects of the old show, which probably taken up a lot of time. A lot of that camp life, a lot of like the survival aspects have been changed since the early seasons. I'd be a little bit concerned, just like with an hour and a half show. I've had episodes where it's just like, this is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Even in the hour format, where it's just like, I don't really care about any of this. We kind of know where things are going. So I could see it as a positive and a negative.
Yep.
Maybe that's why they're teasing us with the theme song. They could be bringing that back as like a way to fill a few minutes.
Yeah,
Bring
I mean,
in the
I think
theme,
that would be
the
great.
intro. That's one thing they could do to please the fans. But again, it's like, what's going to happen here? Is it going to be a smart move, bringing it to an hour and a half? Is there going to be more ads?
Your point,
I think it's a good medium though. Instead of going like a full 2 hours,
you definitely
like
go 2 hours off the bat. You definitely trial it with 90 minutes first. I think that there are some episodes that are made to be 90 minutes, and there's some that are made to be 60. And I know it's impossible from a scheduling standpoint to say, hey, we're going to do 60 minutes every other week and 90 minutes every other week, right? That's like just not how television networks work. But that would be the ideal. I think Survivor episodes should be as long as you need to tell the story. It shouldn't be some artificially contrived length. And I feel like 60 is kind of the bare minimum you need to tell a Survivor story. So that's why 60 has always worked. With 90, I think we're going to see some episodes. It's going to be awesome to have 90 minutes, and then some we're going to be pretty bored by the end. I hope I'm wrong.
Exactly.
When I said I'm going to be bored by the end, that does not mean throw 8 advantages in there, because that'll keep me entertained. It won't. It'll give me a headache. It's a Wednesday. I got 2 more days of work this week.
Yeah. I think you're exactly right. And was it last season or 2 seasons ago? There was like a random 2-hour or 90-minute
that
episode.
That was 42, and it was awesome. 42 is the one that I was thinking when I made that comment about like they kind of changed up the episode length certain weeks, and it worked really well in my opinion. Which is what I kind of hope they do. I hope they schedule 90, and then like I don't know, maybe we get Ponderosa every now and then or something. Who knows?
That would be cool.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of Survivor news there. It's still a rumor, hasn't been confirmed yet. I think that likely be something that they'd probably drop at the end of the season.
You just can't wait when Jeff gives us a promo that has nothing to do with the actual season. He'll just be like, and by the way, 90-minute episodes, and then cut to some clip.
Well, this might be the first season in a while where they haven't filmed the new season for promotions, right?
Yeah, they haven't yet. We will finish this one before they start filming the next one, for sure.
Okay. So,
or maybe they'll
not a lot,
or maybe they're going to start filming it soon. It might like line up pretty closely, but to your point, they won't have the full thing filmed by the time this one ends. I don't think.
But it could be a returnee season.
There's a lot of talk about it being a returnee. If they do a returnee, they should do 46 as the returnee, though. Your returnee should always be the second in your cycle. I know people have complaints about that, but it should be. Anyway, yeah. I don't need to get too into that in a 53-minute podcast already, but
yeah, we've been rambling for so long. I feel like everyone's dropped off at this point.
Yeah,
but if you're still listening, as always, thanks for tuning in. This has been another episode of Buffs and Blindsides. We'll be back at it again, probably sometime next week, towards the latter end, as usual. Maybe Wednesday night, maybe Thursday at some point. Who knows? But we'll be back. Thanks for listening, as always. Evan, anything to add?
And in the meantime, don't get swap screwed like Matt did. Peace, everybody.
Yeah, don't let that happen. Next week, 90-minute episode. We'll be back. Bye.